Hey there, Wolfpack fans. It's me again, Kenton Gibbs, bringing you another episode of Locked On Wolfpack. And folks, on today's episode of Locked On Wolfpack, we have got to talk about our men's and women's basketball team and how they performed this weekend. We had our men's team take a 80-69 loss in Chapel Hill. We'll talk about some of the things that affected it, some of the things possibly being out of NC State's control, and we'll talk about the victory that our women took in the Yum Center against Louisville, because I'm going to tell you something. That game meant a lot for that team to win 63-51 after a stellar fourth quarter. But we're going to tell you exactly how that fourth quarter went NC State's way and we got the job done. And when I say we, you know I'm saying we because my main man, Grayson Boone, is back in the building helping me get the job done. And when I talk about jobs, I've got to tell you all that this episode is brought to you by LinkedIn Jobs. Talk to the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster and post your job for free at linkedin.com/locked on college. That's linkedinjobs.com, /locked on college. Terms and conditions do apply. So folks, stick around as we talk about both of those games and more on today's episode of Locked On Wolfpack.
You are Locked On Wolfpack, your daily podcast on the NC State Wolfpack. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Grayson, how you doing, my man?
Kenton, what's going on? A little too much light blue this past week, but I guess it is what it is. How are you doing?
You know, there's always too much light blue in our lives. I think it's a color that none of us ever need anything of. But with that being said, I'm doing as good as to be expected, man. I'm doing as good as could be expected. Now, let me ask you this, Grayson. In looking back at this weekend, we saw some ups, we saw some downs, some things that I feel like it's going to get a little emotional today. I feel like it's going to get a little riled up today. I feel like there's a possibility of that happening. Are you prepared to get into these games with me?
Oh, I'm ready. Let's get to it.
Now, let's not lose our clean rating now. We trying to keep our clean rating on YouTube and all our podcast platforms that we're playing on. But the 80-69 loss, I want to talk about first the things that were in NC State's control that did not necessarily go well in Chapel Hill, because when I look at this team, I say to myself, this was a game that was winnable, that we should have won, but that we did not come away with. And, very disappointing to see. And it was a tough outing, especially seeing as how we were in the midst of a winning streak before this game, and then to see us take a loss here against our rivals. But the thing that I want to talk about, the two things that I want to talk about more than anything else is, number one, we were decimated on the boards. I talked about on Locked On ACC that not stopping Armando Bacot, because the man's been in college for 12 years. He's literally a man amongst boys per se. He should always be considered to be a main factor of the engine that drives the boys in baby blue. So I said not stopping them, but containing them was important, and that seemingly didn't happen. They allowed 23 and 18 to the young man, and that was a big part of where that came from. He had 3/4 as many rebounds as NC State's entire team. We only had 24 on the night to their 42. And the next thing, after we saw Jaquavian go down, one of the things I talked about with Keith Austin reared its ugly head in that we did not have plays committed to memory that could get guys easy buckets. And when you rely on ISO ball and one of your best isolation players is out, your offense is going to slow down to a crawl a little bit, and that's seemingly what happened here.
Yeah, there was a lot to like in the first half. It definitely felt like we had a good chance to come away with the W, just based on what we did see with the runs we were making. We were keeping up with the boards in the first half. Unfortunately, it took it away from us later on. But I thought we finished the first half strong. Casey Morcell hit a couple big threes to keep us right there, neck and neck. And then, you talk about the wind coming out of the sails when Baby T went down. That was tough. Thankfully, we're talking here on Monday, and he is okay. After you see something like that, it's just a game at that point. There's bigger things to be worried about. But thankfully, he is good. And unfortunately, there was a game still being played after he departed. Tough sailing for us from there. But we did get crushed on the boards. It's always going to be tough going into Chapel Hill to play. As much as they love to say we're not rivals, they always get up for us. That's undeniable. But yeah, a lot of whistles or maybe lack thereof. Very frustrating to kind of go in knowing the kind of basketball that UNC is going to want to play. They're going to want to get to the foul line a lot. They're going to feed Baycott. They're going to try and bully you inside. Second half, they kind of just did whatever they wanted to. So frustrating to say the least. However, it's not. I wouldn't say it's a crucial loss. I mean, it sucks. You always want to beat them, but there's some big games coming down the road. We're still going to see them again. They're going to come to our house here in February, so hopefully we'll be prepared for them when that comes around.
I think it's interesting you talked about the whistles there. Now, we talked about the things that obviously NC State needs to do better, right? The boards need to be improved. The ability to kind of find a way to generate rebound as a team to, make up for the fact that you've got some injuries in your front court and all that needs to happen. Absolutely. Sure. And even beyond that, again, there need to be some sets for guys to get them in the spots that they like. Absolutely, sure. But the whistles, very, very interesting, very peculiar. Peculiar. The whistles that were not called there because you know everybody looks at this game and there are a lot of people saying, well, NC State is one of the worst teams in the conference in terms of fouling and our fouls drawn to fouls that we surrender ratio. And I said that is a prime example of when I tell people all the time, numbers without context will always equal a lie. Because yes, NC State is technically the worst team in the ACC in terms of foul differential. That differential is we foul our opponents one more time than they foul us per game. That's the differential. One foul. That is the worst in the conference. Sure, yes, it is one foul. It is. We are looking at a free throw, a chasm of free throws that one team is shooting 3 times more than the other. We're looking at a situation where there was forcible contact to a player's head or neck area. That player was taken out on a stretcher, and there had to be a review as to whether or not it was a flagrant 2. There are, again, people love saying the NC State folks are black helicopter people, and I've had games in the past where other people have said, oh, the refereeing had a big deal to do with it. And me personally, I'm like, hey, you can't blame the rest for that. There were too many things that we did poorly. But this game in particular, you look at that game and you talk about Armando Baycott being, a force down low as he is. No, that, hey, he did 20 and 18. That's always going to be a tough thing to get over. But then you look at the fact that he wasn't the leading scorer for that team. It was RJ Davis. And you say to yourself, well, wait a minute. RJ Davis had 26 points while only hitting 8 shots. How did that happen? I'll tell you how it happened. He shot more free throws by himself than NC State's entire team. Now, I don't know about y'all. I don't know. I'm a host of Locked On ACC. I'm a full-time co-host. So I've got to watch all of ACC basketball, including the boys in Navy Blue. I have never seen RJ Davis be aggressive enough to go to the line 7 times, 8 times in one game. I have never seen that. Never. And I don't think that it was called for in this game. But I will say a lot of NC State's fouls I did think were fouls. However, you can't call those fouls on NC State and then allow for an absolute hatchet job at the other end where it's like, hey, if you are hitting the floor hard, that's on you. Like, I don't know what you want me to do here. To me, that's just a very embarrassing showing by the officials. And it's one of those things that's like, to say that it hurts the integrity of the game is an understatement. And let's just be glad that this wasn't a huge game in terms of like the Battle of the Blues or something like that. In that, at that point, if this is a nationally televised game, if this is a game in March Madness or something like that, and it's called like this, I mean, how do you as a fan look at that and say, oh yeah, this seems right. This seems legit.
Yeah, I mean, as a fan, naturally, you're gonna watch the game. You see the reactions from people on Twitter. You look at the humongous gap of free throw attempts. I try my absolute best not to just, throw the kitchen sink at, well, officials took it out of our hands. I try so hard not to do that. In a game like this, come on, man. Come on, man. Like to watch Jarkel several times drive in the paint just get absolutely obliterated to no whistle. And
Mm-hmm.
just like the cheapest ticky tack foul on the other end, it just I mean, it's hard to stomach that when you watch the first half and you really do feel like we could do this. Like we're running with them. We look great. We look like we have a great idea of what we're trying to do in this ball game, and then it just gets out of hand. And it's one thing if you're throwing the ball around and you're just missing shots. We outshot UNC percentage
Mm-hmm.
wise,
Mm-hmm.
and
And
yet
this
here
and
we are.
here
Not even go ahead.
and here's the most interesting thing about this to me. The block totals to me are what really tell you that there's this wild hasn't been free throws is nonsensical. Because normally when you see a team shooting a higher percentage, but they have way more fouls than the other team, that other team is just getting clean blocks. They're getting a lot of clean blocks where it's like, hey, what do you want them to do? They cannot call it if you're putting it in the air and it's getting sent to the sixth row. They had 2 blocks on the night. And again, if we're talking about how NC State is one of the worst teams in terms of fouls in the conference, that again, we are -1 on average. We were -11 here. We were 10, actually 11 times worse than what we normally are in this game. Well, technically it's 1.1, so we were 10 times worse than what we are in our average game here. And you're not going to tell me that this UNC team is 10 times more aggressive or 10 times better than every team we've played so far this year. Like
No.
that's just not, you know, it's nonsensical. It doesn't it just doesn't pass. It's not up to snuff. It just isn't. It isn't. And again, I struggle with coming to terms with one team shooting 3 times more free throws than the other. It's just it. People are talking about, well, there have been plenty of times where teams have shot in 39 free throws against Coach Keys. And in what of those games was it a conference game and his team had 1/3 of the free throws of the other? Again, I'm fine with refs. The game with Duke and Miami, they let those young men play. Those boys were going at it. It was a tough, physical game. Guys were hitting the ground hard, not getting calls and all that. But that went both ways. There was no you couldn't look at that game and say, oh man, the way that this is being officiated definitely is leaning towards one side or the other. You couldn't say the same thing for this game. And it's again, very embarrassing on the ACC's behalf. Very embarrassing. And I'm going to tell you this. I know that Keats is a better man than me. I know that these players are better men than me. But you put one of mine out on the stretcher, and I'm just going to tell you right now, 12 fouls, or I'm sorry, 39 foul shots. Sure, y'all may not shoot that much again, but don't worry. 2 of yours may get a treatment that you gave to one of mine. That's just the way I was raised, which may not be right. It may not be productive for society and all that. But again, it's embarrassing to see that there was even an argument or a confusion or fans booing at that point when, again, forcible contact to the head and neck area of a player goes out on stretcher. That shouldn't even been we got to go to review this. That should have been, hey, yeah, Leaky, go ahead and hit the showers, buddy. We'll see
Yeah,
you
I
later.
mean, there was a lot of pearl clutching on both sides of the equation. I mean, any replay you really watch, Leaky did blast Baby T in the face. He did do it. Did he do it on purpose? I don't think so, personally. But
Right.
I mean, you look at it; it is a flagrant foul. Like, sorry, it by definition that is a flagrant foul. But I just a lot of crying about it from both fan bases on just everything from the foul itself to the ejection to Baycott wearing the sunglasses in the locker room, which I do think he was a clown for that. I'll be very direct on that one. But just I don't know, just not how you would like that basketball game to be played. You want it to be coming down to the wire. The teams are going at it. They're letting the boys play. You don't want it to ever get out of hand like that because you do get people crying about it until the next time we play them and just the whole 9 yards. But frustrating to say the least, for sure.
And And again, I'm sorry. I'm listen. Being from Detroit, the teams that we had that were great were known as the what Pistons? The bad boys. And you know why they were known as the bad boys? Because again, you come through that lane, and we had to deal with a guy from UNC ourselves, some bald guy with a gambling problem. And you know what they did when he came through that lane? Oh, it was time. It was time. You knew. And by the way, let me read to you word by word from the NCAA website on what a flagrant two foul is. Okay. So here it goes. A flagrant two foul is two shots and the ball and the players ejected from the game. The rule committee added more words to describe this scenario, including brutal, harsh, cruel, or dangerous, or punishing. I don't know in what world you look at that play and don't say, "Oh, this play was very dangerous." You have somebody in the air being hit, and again, I'm not here to judge Leaky Black's heart or say what his intention was. I am solely talking about impact
Yep.
because it's not. We all know in the real world, intention and impact don't always line up correctly. Your intention could be, "Hey, I'm going for the ball. I'm trying to get a block." It's not about whether or not you're going for the ball. That is not the only criteria as to whether or not a play is a flagrant two. So, a classless fan bases will do what they do, and
Nothing
it
new.
was I was not in attendance in person, and so I will hope that it was a very small minority of the crowd that was upset at the ejection, because again, there was somebody carried out on a stretcher here and forcible contact. I don't think that should have been much of a question, but I digress. We are going to move on now, and we are going to talk about the amazing win that our women had in Louisville. But before we do, I've got to tell you about LinkedIn Jobs. Folks, LinkedIn Jobs is the place that you need to be as a small business owner or hiring manager. You know that success in this year all depends on the team members you surround yourself with. And that's why you need to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs can help you hire qualified candidates more efficiently by matching open roles with the people who have the skills, values, and experiences to help you achieve your goals. LinkedIn Jobs helps you quickly attract qualified candidates with open jobs with targeting tools. They go beyond resume data by using insights from your post and your company and their 875 million member profiles to put your job post in front of the most qualified candidates. So please make sure that the right team members get to your spot by using LinkedIn Jobs. They help you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. So post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions do apply. So now we switch gears a little bit and talk about the win that our women had, and it was a much needed win. I mean, let's just be very honest here, right? We were in a little bit of a tailspin, and it seems as though we're moving in the right direction, getting some momentum in the right way, winning 2 straight games here against Miami on Thursday and Louisville on Sunday. And this game against Louisville was so impressive to me because of the way that fourth quarter went, right? We walk into the fourth quarter with a slight lead. And don't get me wrong, I don't want to give too much credit here. A win is a win. It's our baby. That's ultimately what we look at here. But there were some shots that, Louisville had good looks and they just missed. But also, there was a lot of that was the defensive intensity of NC State, holding Louisville to 4 points in the entire fourth quarter with only, I want to say, one field goal in the fourth quarter
1 for
entirely.
16.
So, yeah, so that was just a heck of a job by the women on that front. Anything that you noticed or that stuck out to you from the game?
Yeah, I mean the Miami win on Thursday and then this Louisville win on the road. Two big wins after the women unfortunately also had a disappointing loss in Chapel Hill.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, two great wins, two great team wins. We beat Miami without Jada Boyd, which is key. She had a nagging ankle injury, I believe, it was in the UNC game last
Yep.
weekend. So to get her back for the Louisville game, another great team win. The scoring was evenly distributed, something we've kind of seen off and on throughout the year. I mean, we've seen we can't really rely on one girl or two girls to kind of carry the team. It needs to be a team effort. I believe I would assume Westmore's been preaching that with the struggles they've had of late. But yeah, to get Jada Boyd back, she puts on for Louisville. I'll tell you what, I believe she's like 15-8 averaging when she goes out that way. So shout out to her for having a great game. But yeah, that defensive putting the clamps on them in the fourth quarter was enormous. To hold them to only 4 points is kind of crazy if you say it out loud. To go 1 for 16, like you said, some of them just missed the shots. We'll take that. But a lot of the effort, the intensity on defense in that fourth quarter really brought home the win for us. So those are two big wins heading into a very tough game. We got the Notre Dame women coming in to Reynolds. I believe it's this coming weekend. They have like the whole week off to prepare for Notre Dame. They are big bad Notre Dame, so we got to make sure we're firing all cylinders when they come into town.
And I'm going to tell you this: the Diamond Johnson was all right. So of the players who had double digits, there was Jada Boyd with 15. There was Sanaya Rivers with 12. There was Diamond Johnson with 12. And there was Mimi Collins with 11. But in terms of doing other things, right? Diamond Johnson, 12 points, 6 assists, 5 rebounds. Sanaya Rivers, 12 points, 5 assists, 3 rebounds. And there's another thing that I want to point out here. Sanaya Rivers and the job that she did on Van Lith was crazy.
Oh, yeah.
Like, that was like, yeah, again, not saying that this was all her and it had nothing to do with Van Lith having an off night, but also she was kind of pressured into that off night. Did she miss some shots that she normally hits? Absolutely. But that's what happens when a good defender doesn't allow you to get the easy buckets just to see the ball go through the hoop. When you can't get those types of points, it all of a sudden gets really tough to see anything, including your regular stuff, fall, because again, it's nothing you can do. You're struggling in that way. And again, defensively, what she did, the job that she did on Van Lith, to say that it was impressive is an understatement. And I think that Sanaya Rivers is 1 year away from like very serious, hey, this is one of, if not the best player in the nation conversations if she continues on this trajectory that she is on this year.
She could get there for sure. She's really shown some sparks of intense basketball being played this year. Very excited to have her on board. But yeah, as she continues to make strides, definitely a name to look for this coming season. You got the very talented freshman coming in to kind of complement her as well. But very impressed with what I've seen from Sanaya. And to be clear, Haley Van Lith, she is that deal. She's the real deal. And so to be able to rattle her cage in Louisville is no small feat. So definitely big shout out to Sanaya. Big win on the road, and definitely hope they can keep this momentum going.
Absolutely. And I think as she gets, number one, better with her shot selection, better with her playmaking, and better with her overall shot making from deep. I think that those are the three big keys that I see in terms of like what takes her game to the next level. And I would probably say the fourth is being locked in all the time, because sometimes defensively it doesn't look like she's as interested and as invested as she was this Sunday. But to me, those are the big things that, like, there are moments where her three ball is falling, and then there are moments where it's just like she cannot throw a rock in the ocean. Like, to start off the season, it was a bit of a struggle. It was one of those moments where you're looking up and you're like, okay, the shooting is very tough. And then you drop a game like Iowa where you go 9 for 11, 3 for 4 from deep. You do a great job, despite what the numbers say. You did a great job on what is that young woman's name from Iowa? The one who scores as much as you want. Is it Caitlin Clark? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. You did a great job on her. And again, she got hers, but it was on a lot of shots. And a lot of those shots that she hit, you live with her hitting. If she's hitting from the logo, hey, I will let you shoot from the logo every day and twice on Sunday.
There's not much you can do there.
That's what I'm saying. If you're making it from the Curry range, my defense is not going to extend out there. I promise you, take that shot. Have it. Because the best shooters in the game shoot, what, 35% from there, if that? Like, I'm okay with you shooting that shot. So I think that she's in that category. And another thing is Diamond Johnson's intentionality about her playmaking has been huge for NC State this year. You can tell that she's a scorer by default, and that's kind of where she's most comfortable. But she has put in a tremendous amount of effort. and you can kind of see the wheels turning in her brain, looking for playmaking opportunities and looking for her teammates on the court. She's not quite that player that is like so good at playmaking it looks like it comes natural, but you can tell that she's like very intentional about where are my teammates, where's the spots they like, how can I get in the ball.
Yeah, she's definitely improving as the season's going on. You can tell if you go back and just watch clips from early in the season to now. I mean, it happens for everybody, but she's really, as she's getting into these bigger games, she's taken her game to the next level. And getting deep into ACC play, you're going to play the Notre Dames. You're going to have to play Chapel Hill again. You're going to have to play Duke again. She's going to be She's going to have to be the one that's taking us home for the wins. She's got to be that engine that pushes us up the hill and then back down the hill on the other side. So shout out to Diamond. Hopefully we keep this train rolling. Hopefully Jada Boyd stays healthy. Jakia Brown-Turner, she's picked it up a little bit. We've been kind of critical of her the past couple of weeks. She's put together a couple nice performances. So, I mean, as bad as things did look a couple weeks ago, could be looking a whole lot better now.
You know, the seniors must have heard me talking when I said, hey, the seniors, I'm looking at you. I need better. Y'all need to step up and do more, because these seniors really have, in these past few games where they've been healthy, they really have done more, right? If you talk about Jakia Brown-Turner, her game at UNC was, one of her best of the season. And you talk about what she's done lately, although it hasn't been there in terms of her scoring, she's definitely been better as a rebounder. She's definitely been doing good things in terms of not getting into foul trouble while still playing good, intense defense. There is something there to be like, if you expect her to take a step up in scoring at times, but even still, sometimes you just got to kind of accept players as who they are and say, hey, this is what it is. Okay, great. Where do we now get from other places if we accept that, this isn't a player that we're going to count on to give us 15 a night. This isn't a player we're going to count on to give us, 12 a night. This is a player that they'll have their nights where they go off for 15, 20, 17, whatever the case may be. But I just don't want to say I'm going to count on that in terms of all season, as she's averaging 8.8, basically 9 a game.
Yeah. And so, like I mentioned, the team basketball, no kidding, but that's where they really seem to mesh well in these last couple games. It's distributing, team defense, not individual defense, team rebounding, boxing out, finding the girl in transition. It's starting to slowly look like it's coming together now. Just, I guess, a rough stretch in the season happens every now and then, but credit to Wes Moore for kind of righting the ship again. Hopefully, got a whole week to prepare for Notre Dame. They're something. They're going to come in hungry after that upset win we pulled on them in the tournament last year. They had us beat and we came back and finished them off. So they're going to come in looking for revenge. Hopefully we serve it to them cold, because they ain't getting none.
Absolutely. And again, this is a team that we've had a lot of injury problems. We've had a ton of players go down here and there and all that good stuff. But it seems like we're getting healthy. We're getting players back at the right time. Even still, the health situation now is like, what's going on? What's happening in terms of like River Baldwin, and is Jada Boyd going to be on a big minutes restriction, or what's going on there? But, at the end of the day, you're just hoping that this team can get healthy and get right at the right time, because at the end of the day, that's what matters more than anything else. Like, it's not about, hey, we can dominate at all times and everything goes right and everything goes. In the past, we have been extremely fortunate to not have any type of injury problems or whatnot. That just hasn't been the case lately, and that's just that's just it. You know what I mean? We've had injuries to Jessica Timmons. We've had injuries to, like I just said, River Baldwin, Diamond Johnson, Jada Boyd. Like, we've had a lot of injuries this year, but this team just keeps fighting. They keep battling, and at the end of the day, one of the things that happens with those injuries, other players have to step up. Other players have to kind of pick up the slack in certain ways, which is always good in terms of having those players ready to step into bigger roles and big moments when it happens. Like, yes, in the moment, it's not fun to watch us kind of shrink under the lights like we did against UNC. That's not fun, but these players come out on the back end better for it. So,
yeah, that Miami game that we pulled out without Jada Boyd, that had to be kind of a light bulb moment saying like, all right, arguably our best player is not here. Who's it going to be? Who's going to pull this out? How are we going to get this done? And for her to not be there, and for us to kind of, I didn't really feel like we ever had it out of control in that game. It felt like we kind of dominated from start to finish. Great
Mhm.
win, great team win. Need a lot more of those moving forward.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We'll be right back to land this thing after a quick word from our sponsors. And we're back. So, all in all, Grayson, what do you walk away from that, from the men's team UNC game thinking about this team? Because there was a lot of highs and a lot of people who were excited and riding the train as far as on the 4-game winning streak. Does this loss against UNC, does this do anything for you to dampen the excitement, or do you feel any differently about this team?
As much as it absolutely kills my soul to lose the game to Chapel Hill, nah, I'm on to the next game. I'm ready for Notre Dame tomorrow night. Uh, I mean, yeah, like I said earlier, it sucks to lose in Chapel Hill. It does because they're gonna jump up and down and say, "Ha ha, I can't beat us. Never been able to beat us." Yada yada yada. Whatever. Uh, we'll see them again down the road, but our focus needs to be on Notre Dame coming in to Raleigh tomorrow night. No disrespect, Notre Dame's not any good. We need to take it to them. It needs to be early bird gets the worm right out the gate. Take it to them. Obviously, Terquavion's day to day, so we don't know if he'll play or not. To be completely honest with you, I don't think we're going to need him to beat Notre Dame. Now, hopefully, you want him back sooner rather than later, but um, I don't really take a whole lot from this loss. I saw a lot to like. Unfortunately, it just got out of hand in ways not necessarily under our control, but uh, just keep it moving. Just keep it moving.
I'm going to say this. This team is tasked with the task of a mature team. By that, I mean, do not let one loss turn into two.
Yep.
Don't let a loss to your rival that is disappointing turn into another loss here because you're not preparing the right way. Your mind is on other things. You're thinking about, man, what would have happened if, why did this happen? Don't even do it. Don't. That has no bearing on this game. That has no bearing on the rest of this season going forward. At the end of the day, show up, show out, get your win, and be on to the next game. Because again, like you said, there's a lot of season left. And yes, while every expert who does the whole bracketology thing and all that has us firmly in the tournament right now, sure. But that does not mean that this is over, that this season is done, that we can pack it in and pack it up, because we have multiple games, multiple opportunities to play ourselves into better seeding. And we have multiple opportunities to honestly knock ourselves out of the conversation. A loss to Notre Dame does a good job to help you get there. A loss to Georgia Tech, a loss to Syracuse would all go strides in saying, oh no, that team has too many bad losses. They can't get in. And we know we are NC State. If you give them a reason why you cannot get in, they will find it and they will say, oh, yeah, you see, oh, darn it, we wanted to let you guys in. We
It's a
really
movie we have seen way too many times. But
exactly.
yeah, I
Exactly.
mean, in terms of net and quadrants, losing at UNC is technically a good loss. I mean, I think all losses sting. So,
Right.
that is what it is. But in terms of our resume, losing at Chapel Hill, it doesn't hurt us. Losing against Notre Dame will hurt us. So we need to
Mhm.
make sure we're ready to attack. We cannot let, like you said, don't let one turn into two and so on and so forth. Uh, Shake it, keep it moving. A lot more basketball to play, a lot more big games left to play. And if you want to take out the frustration on the light blue color, we'll see them again down the road. So a lot of basketball left. Not worried about this one.
Absolutely, and I'm hoping that the women's team can parlay this energy that they have going, parlay these wins that they have going into a huge upset over Notre Dame with them coming in. Because again, I this women's team is not what we've seen in the past, but this is a season like we haven't seen before in terms of a lot of very key pieces getting hurt and all that, and also having a team that isn't super senior laden with players who've been in the program for a while, right? Like there's a lot of players playing very big minutes that have not done so in this program or even at all in terms of their previous programs as well. So, this is a different season. The women deserve our support as well as the men because, again, both teams are doing very good things at this point in the season. And so, Wolfpack Nation, I don't even got to tell y'all to show up and show off for both of these teams because y'all are the most passionate fan base I've ever been around, I've ever seen firsthand. And I know y'all are going to do that anyway. I know the PNC is going to be packed out for Notre Dame and every other team to come see us. So just keep doing what you're doing. Thank y'all so very much for coming out and listening to this episode. We appreciate y'all. Y'all make this show what it is. Peace and love, y'all. And as always, go Pack.
Go Pack.
You are Locked On Wolfpack, your daily podcast on the NC State Wolfpack, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.